eat. So here I'm just going to be adding the foods. So here I'm going to be adding cheese. I'm going to be adding the grams of carbohydrates and the grams of fibers. It's really important for diabetics to be inputting all these values in order to properly calculate their insulin dosage in order to, of course, keep their blood sugar in check. So here at the bottom, I have a visual representation for visual clients. So here I can see that most of my carbs are coming from the burger more than the ketchup and the cheese. So it's just very visual aid. It helps to see what's happening. So once I press calculate here, I have the total carbohydrates at the top here and the total of fibers. This is what's used in the insulin to carb ratios in order to calculate the insulin needed. And here we can see the different parts, the different subsections, so the main meal, the condiment, and we can see again the distribution in carbohydrate. Then again, very useful for more visual clients. For future works, what we're thinking about is we want to implement notification or reminder system so that in future, when a diabetic put in their meal, they have a reminder after a couple of hours to, oh, you should test your blood sugar, you should eat something else, because often the blood sugars are going to start changing. So it's important to be reminded to keep eating and taking their insulin. We're also thinking about adding an export system, which allows the client to send in their meals to their healthcare provider, increasing communication between the healthcare provider and our client. Thank you. We are Pancreas Pals.
Thank you for the presentation. Would you mind going back to the prototype screen for a second there?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. So I'm not diabetic. I'm not familiar with how diabetics input this sort of data. Is it common that they would understand the carb content and fiber content of everything that they eat? Or would it be typical to just say, I ate a burger and this was what was on it?
Smart diabetics, yes.
There's nutrition facts on food, so they tend to use that looking at their servings, and they're able to figure out the amount of carbs and fibers.
So it probably more for type 2 diabetes. Type 1 as a pump, they just take a lot of insulin and go nuts. With type 2, we fluctuate so much, you're either a super high or a super low, so hyper or hypo. In my case, I'm hyper. I'll never pass out because my sugar goes through the floor, but I'll turn into the Incredible Hulk if my sugar gets too high. He's basically a big green diabetic. In my case, because I have ADD, I'll make my food and figure out, okay, I'm eating this, this, and this, and take my insulin and forget about the cup of coffee with sugar I had 2 minutes earlier, or the cupcake I'm having for dessert in 2 minutes. And then I don't take enough insulin, knocking my sugar down to target, which means if it's supposed to be between 4 and 7, it ends up around 10, and then I have something else to eat and take insulin for that, it'll end up around 12, and the longer your sugar's out of target, the more damage it's doing to your entire body, and I don't like that. And this app rocks. It's exactly what I was looking for.
I have 2 questions if possible. So on the calculation page, when you insert your meal, I noticed on, I think, the next page of the app that you can save the meal. Can you save individual ingredients? That's my first question. My second question is, in terms of accessibility, is this only available in an app, or do you have a web format as well?
So for the foods themselves, they can't be saved. It'd be more like the meal, like, okay, I'm gonna save a meal as, let's say, lasagna. Like when I eat lasagna, I like to eat it with milk and whatnot. So I have a meal saved as lasagna. So when I select it, I can just quickly add other things I want to add to it. And then I can just get my carbs with calculate. That would be the idea behind it. What was the second question already?
Second question is in terms of accessibility. So I see it's the app format. Do you have a web format as well?
Currently, we only have the mobile version here.
Thank you.
I have a question. So this app doesn't have anything for the different accounts. I mean, different user can use the same app. I mean, if it is coming on a tablet, like if it is installed on a tablet, can different user use the same app? I mean, I didn't see any notions of like creating an account and having the different settings per different users. Am I right?
Yeah, For now, it's only like the user. There's no account. So basically, you can still like a friend could still like use the calculation page to calculate their own meal. But for now, like
It's just like using a calculator.
Mhm. So like it's
But I think we talked about this in meetings. Their second version, they would probably have multiple accounts because then they will let exporting to family members and things like that.
mhm. So for
I
now,
have
it's
a
all
question.
local. Mhm.
It looks like the program is static. Am I right to say? That means whatever number that you throw in, it will always come out with the same answer.
Well, it's
Uh,
all,
No, I can add in anything here. So I can say lasagna here. And then if I say something ridiculous, just to like show that it's very different, I can add this here, and then we can see how lasagna, because it's 100 carbs comparing 23 and 2, I believe, it's going to be a lot larger.
Yes, but lasagna can be made from whole wheat or whole wheat pasta or just a regular pasta. Those glycemic index will be completely different. So did you take into account those kind of different constituents of the pasta?
So in that case, the client would have to input multiple versions of lasagna meal depending on which lasagna they want. Our client mentioned that they like to eat usually the same thing, and whenever they eat lasagna, they wouldn't have too much variation in that regards.
Okay, so it has to be programmed in.
So they just have to input
Which
it.
was my request. It's easier for me to type in something I'm going to eat than try to use those big online databases, which have like 55 options for a Tim Hortons double, because everybody puts it in with different information and it's wrong. If I put it in, and it's my fault if I goof something. And to your question, if you were making vegan lasagna, you would just make a new meal of vegan lasagna as opposed to your normal white pasta lasagna.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not so much like a database calculator. It's just specifically, it helps me remember to count all the hidden sugars. And it's only for blood glucose. I look at GI and SI afterwards, so I figure out when I should eat. But this case, I know the lunch I just had was 62 grams of carbs when I take the fiber out. So I took an appropriate amount of insulin, which hopefully works.
All right, thank you.
Are you able to see the screen? All right. All right. We'll start now. All right. Hi, everyone. We're Team D1, also known as Bappin Designers, and we're here today to present our mealtime tracker application entitled Mealtime. But first, let's introduce myself and my team. My name is Abdel, and my partners' names are Ansh, Ben, Bora, and Dylan. For our client, Mark, he has ADD and type 2 diabetes, and he really, at the beginning of the semester, he really emphasized the needs of having a mobile application that is simple and easy to use, has carbohydrate tracking, an input and logging of foods, a notification or reminder functionality, and then also storing this meal history data for further analysis. And then after combining these needs, we came up with a problem statement, which is a mealtime insulin tracking application for diabetic users that will regulate their diabetic conditions and increase harm reduction efforts amongst all users. First, we benchmarked similar apps on the market, such as MyFitnessPal, Diabetes M, and MySugar. These tracking apps, specifically with MyFitnessPal, they had overtly complicated inputs and logging of irrelevant features, or factors such as proteins, fats, and vitamins. And then a plethora of these apps were focusing on the insulin tracking, which was far from the intended goal of our project. First, we designed our first design concept, which was done on paper, and that was designed before completing the first prototype. And this shows the home screen, diet history, and settings menus. Then we made a non-functional prototype, which was shows the home input, food input, results page, and meal history menus. These ones are this had positive and negative feedback, but more so negative feedback. And then afterwards, we made an application in MIT App Inventor, which is shows the home page, food input, meal categories, and meal history menu. This feedback here was that we made a Google survey for various testers, family, friends, users, etc., and then whether this app looks user-friendly. A lot of people said yes, but some people said no. Then we also rated the user information scale of 1 to 5. This was many voted as a 2, with 29.2% representing the shareholder of the amount. Now I'll pass on to Ansh, who will show the demonstration, or explain the demonstration of the video.
So hi, so this is our app. So we have the menu, and then when we go to settings, we have to clear the database, so it goes to null. And then also we have privacy policy that explains our privacy policy to our client and the users. However, when we go back to the home screen, we have various options, such as the meal history menu, which shows a graph because it has nothing in the database. So it's showing no foods and no inputs. Now we go on to the food input menu, where we can input the food. It's a white bread and it's for breakfast. So we can enter variety of foods. For example, if he's having a breakfast, he would be having breakfast at one particular time. So then he can calculate the total. So here's our values that he can use for his further calculations. And then if you want to enter new values, he can still do that. For example, now he's having a snack. So he's having snack, and then he can enter for snack and then calculate the values for the snack. If he's having dinner, he can enter that and calculate the values for the dinner. And then when we go to the meal history, he can check the required stuff that he had already happened in the past 24 hours, and it would pop up as a bar graph. So here you go, there's a bar graph that shows the dinner. So he's consuming the maximum carbohydrates during the dinner. We also have a database that shows his past input foods, what he has done in the yeah, sure.
I think you did cover it, but I think I missed it. It was a bit quick. When you were doing your market survey and looking at all the different features that the other applications offered that you guys stripped out, what kind of features were those?
So those ones, when we benchmarked originally, we saw that, like how I said before, the MyFitnessPal, they had other factors as well, much more complex type of app with having the proteins, the fats, and the vitamins. So those were, because of the scope of this project, we wanted to create an app that was very simple for the client. So having those factors would really detract from the overall purpose of our app.
Scope control is key. No, I was curious. Thank you.
Thank you.
And in my own experience, almost 100% of the existing things that are like this are keyed to a device, a specific meter, a specific account with a subscription. And something like this doesn't matter where you live, what device you have, what meter you use. It's basically just helping you figure out how much sugar you've stuck in your body and how much insulin to put in to free it up. For me, again, it's ADD, but something like this could help anybody with a TBI or a concussion or a stroke remember to calculate their insulin so they're more independent.
I have a question. Does it keep the history of like what you had, like different calculations based on the calendar dates? I mean, what I had yesterday, the other day? Does it keep the history of the
Yeah, so actually the meal history is set not as calendar wise, but it is set as the name of the food. So if a person has entered pasta during the lunch, he would have that in his meal history as lunch. But then, however, if he chooses to have that in dinner, so that value, instead of duplicating it, it will just replace it as the amount that he had. So if you're having different pastas like white pasta, red sauce pasta, so if you enter it different names, then it would save it differently.
I have a question. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do you know that whatever people entered is accurate enough to be used? Have you verified it with other people or with other meters?
So actually we used it with our family members who have diabetes, and we asked them to enter their regularly food intake, and through that we could actually get a positive feedback that our app actually calculates correct amount of grams that they are taken in of the carbohydrate. So is this the same thing as what our client needs? He wants to get hidden sugars. So for our app, we also calculate the sugar intake that's in the food. So for example, if he has the ketchup with bread, so he can enter variety of foods. He can also enter grams of ketchup and also grams of bread together.
Yeah, but sometimes the let's say rice, right? There are many types of rice, and they all have different index, glycemic index. So in this case, does your meter actually take care of those conversion of rice to sugar?
But we're not calculating glycemic index, though. We're just calculating the amount of sugar in the rice. Just like the lasagna, you would enter glutinous rice, white rice, jasmine rice as independent entries. We're not worried about how long it takes to spike the sugar, just how much sugar it is.
But how do you know how much sugar is in the rice?
They look at the package. Canada Food Guides dictate that.
Oh, I see.
So I'm looking at a package that I buy, and it says this much rice has this much carbs and fibers in it. It's a really simple calculator. It's not a nutritional advising tool or tracking device.
Okay.
And then other specialists, like my nutritionist and my endocrinologist, would say, make sure you eat this before this time of day, otherwise I'll spike after midnight and never, go to sleep.
So basically, you're adding up all this program adds up all the sugar that is labeled in the food.
Yeah, all the starch and the sugar, and it removes the fiber from the adding up, because the fiber does not take in account of the insulin spike. So in the carbohydrates, it's just the starch and the sugar that takes in account. So as a client required, we have made him know that his sugar levels are this much, and the total carbohydrate that he has intaken for a particular category of meal, maybe breakfast, lunch, dinner, or snack, he could use that for taking insulin just after having his meal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, 1 second. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly. My other teammates are Sean, Kristen, and Yi, and we are going to be presenting Fog Off, keeping glasses clear for no fogging problems. So the problem that was introduced to us is the fact that right now everyone is wearing masks or is supposed to be wearing masks when they're out in public. And this can be a real problem for people who wear glasses because condensation will accumulate on the lenses, which decreases the visibility. And this can increase a lot of stress, especially in public settings. If you're grocery shopping or if you're working, you don't want to have to compromise your health and like adjust your mask and fix your mask or take it off in order for you to see. So the needs that we found and that were addressed to us by the client were we really want to decrease anxiety by increasing visibility. We want it to be affordable and comfortable. If people are wearing it for long periods of time, it obviously has to be effective. And a big one was also we wanted to fit to different face sizes and also work with different masks, and also being reusable, or if not reusable, not very costly and disposable. So for the other products that we found, a big one was like a nose clip that attaches to your mask. A shortcoming with this is that it is not malleable, so it isn't really super compatible with different face shapes, and like not everyone would be able to wear it. Another one, an at-home solution people used was taping. This isn't really great for long wear, or if you're moving around a lot, it wouldn't be very reliable. So to fix that, we came up with a solution that has two parts. The bottom is a medical grade silicone adhesive that sticks to your face and has wiring in it. And the second part, after you put the mask on over that, is a band with magnets on it that attaches that is attracted to the wire, so it sticks the mask to your face, creating a seal. In our first prototype, we just wanted to make sure that the silicone would properly adhere to the face and work well. And for the second one, we actually wanted to really test the effectiveness. So for our testing, we did internal testing and external. We had 2 people try it outside and wear it to work, and then fill out a survey afterwards. They wore it for about 1 to 2 hours, and the results we got were really promising. They said it was effective in preventing the fog and it was comfortable while wearing it. So that wasn't a problem. We did get some feedback as well. They said that they wanted the second part to be a little bit easier to apply, as well as for the magnets to be more discreet. I completely agree. When I was trying it, the second part, having it attached to that fabric and the magnets exposed, you'd have to pull it apart, which was a bit difficult, and it wouldn't fully attach always. So for our final prototype, which I will be testing now, or the final product, we actually changed the outer bit to be encased in nylon so that you wouldn't have trouble like when you were trying to apply it, nothing would stick together. And also this allows the magnets to be more discreet. Okay, so the final thing. And just sticks on top and attaches to the wire underneath. Yeah. So this is a little quick demo of how it's gonna look. All right. So yeah, in conclusion, we really wanted to emphasize a decrease on stress, because in this time, no one needs more stress. And we want people to feel comfortable and be able to live their life properly without having to worry about not being able to see. All right, we're ready for questions now.
Yeah, I go with the first one. Is it washable?
Yeah, so it's a medical grade silicone adhesive. It's actually the same material that, I don't know if you know about those like strapless, backless, like bras or any other, a lot of cosmetic or clothing sticking materials. So it's simply washable with soap and water. You run it into the sink. We would include with the packaging a little protective film if this were to be marketed, just to ensure that it keeps dust off when you're not using it. But overall, the medical grade silicone that we were using for creation has been tested to withstand approximately 200 wears. And then you would ideally replace it. So then we would sell potentially just the bottom piece if you needed to replace it for a lot cheaper than our entire product would be.
And how much is the cost of both of them together?
Yeah, so both of them together, we, based on the benchmarking, and we, for one of our deliverables, made a 3-year income statement, including costs. It came to, with our markup, about $10. So ideally the bottom piece would be much less than that, since the most costly part was mainly the magnets on top.
Thank you.
Here. What kind of considerations did you guys make to prevent wire from pulling through? It looks like it's fairly thin.
Do you mean like pulling through the silicone?
Yes.
Well, we have it glued down to the silicone, so it doesn't move. We didn't have any issues when we attached the magnets afterwards. So the glue in itself tended to solve that issue for us.
Okay, so it's adhered to the silicone. It's not passing through the silicone.
So
No, not passing through.
Sorry, Sean. In the first prototype that I made, I had tried weaving it through, and then we decided that if we were to weave it through, we would still have to put a little bit of adhesion on top just to prolong the life and just make sure that it was not going to break.
How heavy is the magnets and the whole thing on your mouth? Like because on your nose, because I personally I broke my nose, so I can't put anything heavy on it. Like how heavy is it?
So it's fairly light. I had both my parents try it out, and they said after a couple minutes that they could barely feel it. They'd totally forgotten that they were wearing it. They were able to go about their daily business with zero fogging or very, very minimal, just kind of on the bottom part of their glasses. So super light and very effective.
Does the magnet part on top ever interact with your glasses bottom, like the?
There was a little bit of
I haven't found
interaction
that
sometimes, but we would certainly include a manual on how to apply it properly so that wouldn't occur, because there is a way that you can put it on that just wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
I personally have metal glasses, so when I tried it, it worked for me.
Okay.
But it would probably depend on the material. I would say the nylon being on top definitely is also a help in preventing anything like that from happening.
And most magnets are unidirectional, so they're grabbing each other. They're not grabbing external stuff,
Yeah.
which I know someone in the group mentioned in one of our meetings. And back to the wire question, someone else in the group, I don't have my notes, said that if the wire worked, they could look at replacing it with like flat metal or flat plastic boning, kind of like you would put into, I'm going to say a corset, but that's the only thing I can think of right now, which is a flexible plastic piece. So even if it did start to protrude, it wouldn't be as dangerous as a 20 gauge piece of wire.
Exactly.
And then they could brand on that through the clear product and sell different colors, and they had really great ideas.
Yeah, even just to add on what Mark just said, we actually found when we were doing a little bit of our product searching for the nylon piece on top, once you gave us that idea to update that, we actually found that there's companies, when you buy in a certain amount, that'll actually put the logo and branding on there for you. So we thought it was a really great marketing opportunity. Yeah.
I get all my camping webbing, like I mentioned. I love magnets. That's why both groups use magnets, because primarily I like them, but also I study in aging science. Magnets can be used with super arthritic hands where clips and snaps can't. So that adds to the factor of it's a lot of older people with the anxiety and glasses. And, again, like all the groups today, they rocked my designs. I'm so happy. I wish I could buy them all, but I have to wait.
Thanks, Mark.
I would love to have a magnet with a covering that says fog off, just
right.
And they sent me the email with that name, and I looked at it and I said, okay, I'd buy this. And then I suddenly said, the other thing that would have been great would have been, like a foguette about it, if you want to get the Italian or mafia thing in it. It stuck in my head, and I was like, this is beautiful. And I printed that out and I stuck it at my desk here at work, and I was like, when can I buy one of these?
I have one last question. So I know it's medical grade silicone. What about people with really sensitive skin or eczema or anything on their face? Will it irritate that?
So personally, I do have like eczema and really sensitive skin. I've just got nice lighting on, so you can't see it right now. But it's actually the silicone that we've been using is the medical grade silicone and adhesive. So it's supposed to be kind of hypoallergenic and not irritating. I did wear it when I made the first prototype, mostly just to test that. I also got a couple of friends to kind of just put a piece of the silicone on their face, and my mom. And none of us noticed any irritation, especially when pulling it off. I would say if you did notice anything with peeling it off, that would be the main kind of area. And in this case, I would just make sure that our user manual is very clear, because as soon as you put a little bit of water, this adhesive becomes quite slick. It doesn't with sweat, but like if you were to try to kind of rub it with water, it's much easier to remove. So I would say Removing it would be the biggest issue, but as long as we were very clear on our instructions, if irritation occurs, do this, then you'd have no problem.
And I just want to say thanks to all my groups, but I'm at work and have to go back to work now. So I really loved all your presentations, and good luck with the rest of your education, guys. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. We are Accessible Speech, and our team name is Menge. The need for our project arose because our client has episodes when they're nonverbal and they can have trouble communicating. Sometimes people think that they're refusing to talk or faking it, and this misconception can trigger more stress and may exacerbate their condition. They're currently learning American Sign Language, but not everyone understands it. So our client requires a quick and easy Android app solution that will enable them to communicate with people in public during an episode. We developed an accessible speech app where the user can play pre-recorded messages and do text-to-speech conversions as needed. This application is useful to anyone who has a speech disability and can also be used in organizations such as schools and hospitals to communicate.
So there were many text-to-speech and recording apps available. However, there aren't any that have both of these functionalities. Our app is catered specifically to users with speech disabilities. It has a specific button to play a pre-recorded message explaining their disability. And it also has a design and theme that's designed specifically to not induce any stress. Our accessible speech app also has a categories option to organize the recordings and make it faster and easier for the user to use. This tool can prove very useful to tackle real-life obstacles that people with speech disabilities face in their daily life. Now we'll move on to a live demo.
You're muted, Gurren.
Okay, sure. So this is how the main screen of our application looks like. To add a new recorded message, you'll need to click on this plus icon. Let's say to start the recording, click on this microphone. I'd like to pay by cash. To save it, click on the save icon, and let's say I'm gonna save it under shopping. So I'll click on it and then click on save icon. I'd like to pay by cash. There you go. To add the disability message, it's the same process. Click on this plus icon, check mark this disability message, then record your message, disability message, and then click on save icon. Disability message. To access text-to-speech conversion functionality, click on this keyboard, and let's say I want to type in hello, so I'll type it, and then click on convert. Hello. To change the theme of the application, you'll need to click on this clear like icon. Let's say you want to change it to purple, so I'll click on purple. If you need it green, click on green. This is going to change the theme of full application to green. That's pretty much it. Thank you for listening. We'll take the questions from here on.
I have a quick question. Can you save in the app predetermined messages that you know you're going to be using on a regular basis?
Yeah, so that's the main point of the application, is that when you have time, you can record a message or like multiple messages, place it in categories. So then when let's say a person has a nonverbal episode and they want to be using these phrases, they can just play that recording.
So much a question, just a comment. That's a slick interface. I really like that. And having the disability message easily accessible from there. No, really well done, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does it have any like default text for any categories that you have, like default text with the voice on that? Like for example, in the shopping context, there are like certain sentences that usually people will use, or like in health, like do you have any pre-recorded anything by default that user can use? And I am wondering, like in the future, are you going to have like kind of like a learning that, okay, this is a sentence that usually people will use in this context, so I will add it to the it will get added to the app in the future?
Okay, the thing is, the client or user gets to record these messages that they use often in their own voice. So we don't default add anything because we want them to be able to record it in their own voice and not have an automated voice say it out.
Sure.
That's from our client. They said that having selective mutism, it can come and go really suddenly. So the idea is that I can prepare the app beforehand when verbal and use them during non-verbal episodes.
Question slash suggestion. Can you change it from a male voice to a female voice for the text-to-speech conversion?
So yeah, not in the application. It currently has a female voice, but if we maybe it could be a good future idea. We could have both, or yes, we can program it to a male voice as well.
To add to that, can you add in accents? Like if it was a French client and it had a different accent.
Currently not, but yeah, again, it could be a good idea for future.
Yeah.
It's based on the text-to-speech portion uses like a text-to-speech, I think it's the Google API. So it would depend on what voices are available in that, or maybe looking at different APIs to have a larger breadth of different voices.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Really slick, guys.
Good job. I liked it.
All right, well, got to ask you a question then. What would be your guys' next in line feature that you'd add to this that you haven't already covered?
More colors.
More color, night mode?
Just more colors, because when we tested, we noticed that almost every other person said, oh, why don't you have more color options? So we definitely include a greater variety of colors in the settings.
How about functionality?
We were also thinking to add a search function. So our client said that they would like to have categories and or a search bar. So we added the categories because it was a bigger change and we had to do more work for it. A search bar is a little easier to add, so we left that out as a next step feature if need be.
I have a question. Does this thing has to be online because you're using Google's text-to-speech?
No, it's actually a mobile application and it does work without internet as well. You could see that in the demonstration. I was on airplane mode and my recordings work perfectly.
So you are able to run even without a connection?
You need to have a connection because the database is online. So to be able to access your recordings, you do need to have a connection to the internet.
So essentially that it could be LTE or Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically your software is just basically using the apps in Google and then just
Okay. So first off, I would like to thank everybody for letting us present. Let's go. So Our client suffers from selective mutism, an anxiety disorder that impairs their ability to speak, which can occur at any time or anywhere when talking to anyone. Triggers for mutism are hard to predict and ambiguous. Our client is also prone to seizures from the color red. They also suffer from neurodivergence, meaning when the client is presented with too many options, it causes disorientation and anxiety. Therefore, we had to make our solution simple and less cluttered while maintaining functionality. So, overall, the solution must be portable, must speak words out loud, and should be easy to use. Overall, our solution would help individuals who suffer from selective mutism feel a sense of independence, alleviating the anxiety of being alone in public. Furthermore, our app can be used to mitigate a wide range of speech disorders or impediments, making it a solution for many problems, not just one. It can also be used for those who use sign language when talking to those who don't understand sign language.
Hi everyone. So before I begin talking about our solution, I wanted to mention that we made an augmentative alternative communication app, which is AAC for short. And the current AAC apps are either too expensive, too simplistic, or too restrictive. So we wanted to make something that would be very suitable to our client and the type of people that we wanted to have previously. And I believe I'm gonna have to share my screen again because I forgot to choose share with sound. Okay, so here is our application. As you can see, when the user lands on the home page, it is very simple. It's just 3 buttons and it provides them with the functionality to go to their favorites or select a category that they want to talk about. Now, if you land here and you just want to say something, you can do so by just typing and speaking.
Hello.
And if you want to talk about something that you regularly talk about, you can just go to your favorites and say,
I am Accessible Speech. Welcome to Design Day. We are happy to have you.
and if you want to talk about something very specific, such as about your own condition, you go to categories, you could choose about me, and you could say,
Hi, I am Maddie. I have selective mutism. I am unable to speak right now, so I will be communicating with my phone. Thank you for cooperating.
and that is our application. And for the future, we are planning to have live translation from English to French or from French to English. We want to have client adjustable accents and voices. And as you might have noticed that the current voice had an American or a Canadian accent, but it is very possible to have other accents as well. And we can allow our clients to access saved phrases and voices on any device with cloud storage. And then finally implementing our business models. And thank you. Yes, please.
So it looks as though you can have pre-recorded sentences or words, and that you can
Yes.
also type on the go as well, right?
Yes,
You have both options? Okay.
both options.
And it's currently, oh, it's English and French. I just saw it on my screen.
Yes. So we are using Flutter, which is provided by Google. So it can use the native Google Translation API. So it can actually say translate typed English text to French. It is, once implemented, it can do that, but it is built in the API that we are using.
Thank you.
Question that was asked to the other group, is this an offline tool or does it need online access?
It is offline and it can work fully functional. It can be fully functional offline. And as for the cloud thing, we are planning to have a separate backup just like WhatsApp does. So you can back up your message and it will download it once and then save it and then run it offline again. So you wouldn't need to be connected to internet to use it. Thank you. Thank you for accepting our presentation. Thank you for accommodating us.